Well, good Tuesday to you, Tennessee Valley, and everyone else who may be watching this. It is 7:32, and it is time to look at the rest of the week because we got some changes coming your way, and we're very mild to start your day. And I hope you enjoyed yesterday. It hit 73, which is exactly 20 degrees above normal for this time of the year. Our average high 53, average low 33. So typically we're waking up to temperatures in the 30s. This morning, pretty mild, generally in the 50s, some even in the mid 50s. So it's a mild start, and it's going to be another warm afternoon. We'll have more cloud cover today than yesterday, but still going to climb up into the upper 60s to lower 70s. So if you don't hit the 70s today, you're still going to be in the upper 60s, which is still well above normal for this time of the year. So if you didn't get a chance to get out and about and enjoy the weather, do that today. Yesterday I was able to walk through Coolidge Park here in Chattanooga, and I tell you what, the weather was absolutely gorgeous. I didn't even want to go back inside, but it's going to be one of those days yet again. But we do have changes on the way. So rain moves back into the forecast tomorrow. Now, as we take a look at your storm tracker going through Tuesday, and this is our in-house model, we'll have a mix of sun and clouds. More clouds this morning, a little bit more sunshine trying to peek through this afternoon. Cloud cover thickens back up tonight, and then we're going to have more rain moving back into the forecast on Wednesday. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of march this through. By about midday tomorrow, we'll have the first of the showers starting to show up across North Alabama and parts of Middle Tennessee. A lot of this is going to come into our neck of the woods by about 3, 4 o'clock. We'll start to notice some darkening skies and showers and storms developing. And along the Cumberland Plateau, there may be enough instability for even a strong storm with a quick gusty wind, or maybe even an isolated severe storm with damaging wind gusts and maybe some small hail. So we'll watch that pretty closely. And then as we continue through Wednesday by about 5, 6 o'clock, many of you may be getting ready to come home from work. Wet roadways are looking pretty likely. Again, initially it looked like this system was going to stay a little further to our north. Now rainfall amounts and rain coverage is increasing for your Wednesday, especially during the afternoon and evening. That'll continue through about 10, 11 o'clock. And then overnight, most of this is going to wrap up, and we'll just be waking up to some cloud cover by the time we get into Thursday. So with this first round of rain, it looks like upwards of half of an inch to maybe an inch going to be possible. It just depends on where you're at. Some of the heavier storms that develop, you'll have the heavier rain. So I think the max rain we could see maybe an inch to an inch and a half, and that's going to be isolated. But most of us probably going to see a quarter to half of an inch on average. But you're always going to have those pockets of heavier rain and maybe some lighter rain. But nonetheless, I think everyone should see at least a decent amount of rain on Wednesday. Also going to be a severe aspect of this. Low wind, again, instability not going to be great, but it may be just enough. We're going to have a little bit of wind shear, a little bit of lift, which could result into a strong storm or two in Ray, Meigs, northern McMinn, Bledsoe, Sequatchie, Grundy, maybe Marion counties up through I-40 from Knoxville to Nashville, or if you're heading up 24 from Mont Eagle to Nashville at some point tomorrow afternoon and evening, there could be a strong storm or two. So download the Local 3 weather app. I don't anticipate a severe weather outbreak or anything of that nature, but there certainly will be at least the potential for a few strong storms as we get into Wednesday. And this is really going to kick off an active pattern. So over the next 7 days, it looks like the highest amounts may stay just to our north, but I still think, in the green from Ellijay north, we could pick up anywhere from an inch to 2 inches of rain over the next 7 days. And that could change. We could see these amounts bump upwards. But nonetheless, we are certainly entering more of an active pattern, and that looks to be the case all the way through the middle of the month. So if we don't get a lot of rain tomorrow, we'll have more chances coming our way over the next several weeks. And as far as temperatures are concerned, now we're kind of going to get back into the spring-like temperatures. Well, it's going to be warm. So Thursday, our record high for at least that day is 70, and we're looking at 71, so we could either tie or break a record. Saturday is going to be the warmest day of the week. The record for that individual day is 76, or we have 75, so we may have some record-tying warmth here over the next several days. But look what happens Monday. We start to stair-step our way back down to seasonal temperatures. Again, 50. It's going to feel colder just simply because it's been so warm. But if we had 50, back in the middle of January, we're like, all right, that's actually a pretty nice day. So it's relative, but it's going to be warmer for the time being before we get a little bit of a cool down. And it's going to be a tricky pattern because the models are all over the place. And tracking this kind of cold air in February has been difficult in the past. I remember 21, where that cold air kind of settled in across the central plains. Texas had the big freeze, and it made it all the way into northern Mississippi and western Tennessee, but kind of cut off here, and we didn't get that coldest air. It was all because we had some strong ridging, which we're going to try to see that come back into play. So above normal temperatures still look pretty likely over the next 6 to 10 days across the southeast and parts of Florida, while you may have the colder air settling in across portions of the northern plains, the Rockies, up through the northeast. So again, it's going to be tricky to see how far south and east that cold air makes it, because it looks like we're going to be kind of the cutoff line here. There is the chance it gets a little further to the south and east, or it may stay further to the north and west. I think it'll get cooler, but I don't think we're going to have a big shot of cold air like what we had back in January, just because this ridge looks to be pretty persistent. And typically when you have ridging, you have warmer temperatures at the surface, and it kind of deflects any of that cold air from coming this far to the south. So we would need that to flatten out or weaken a little bit moving forward. So let's kind of take a look at the upper level charts going into the rest of this week into next week. So this is February 8th, so this would take us into Saturday morning. Well above normal. Again, that is going to be our warmest day. We're going to have very strong ridging right overhead. The axis is basically going to be over the Tennessee Valley, which means very warm air. Coldest air going to be bottled up into the Pacific Northwest and the Rockies. Now, the pattern is going to start to shift a little bit, and as we go into February 11th, you can start to notice how this orange area or upper level ridging starts to weaken a little bit, or shifts off to the east over the open Atlantic. If that continues to shift, it's going to allow that cold air to get a little bit closer to us. But somewhere in the middle where you see these blues and orange yellows, there's going to be a battle zone of winter weather, because you're going to have an active storm track here. So somewhere from the Midwest up through the Northeast, Rockies is going to get hammered with some snow. There's going to be an active jet stream. So someone's going to get some pretty good winter weather, and there could even be some southern severe weather at some point over the next couple of weeks. And then by February 17th, that ridge kind of flattens out. We get that Pacific flow coming into the deep south, and we're kind of going to be in that battle zone. Will it be cold enough for winter weather? Probably not. It looks like that coldest air is still going to stay to our north, but it certainly will be closer to seasonal averages as we move through the middle of the month. So again, here's a look at the European ensemble. Again, this gives us a lot of different solutions or opinions about what the weather may be like. Through Sunday, it's going to be warm, but notice Monday temperatures start to drop off. But even then, like, averages still in the mid to upper 30s. But the thing is, the spreads, and I was looking at the spreads earlier, through about the 10th through the 18th are just all over the place. So there is the chance it's a lot colder. There's a chance that it stays pretty warm. I know that's not what you'd like to hear, but this is going to be a tough pattern moving forward. Right now I'm thinking it gets cooler, but again, I don't think it's going to be this big shot of cold air like we had back in January. And there's also the chance for a little bit of wintry mischief. You're going to start to see charts going across the internet, because that's what happens these days. If there's one run that depicts snowfall over the South, it's going to be shared 100 million thousand times. No, that's not a real number, but you get my drift. This is the probability of 1 inch of snow through the 13th. So I'm looking at the time frame between about the 11th and 13th for maybe some winter weather. I think it's going to be too far to our north, but it's a possibility. The European at least thinks so. 30 to 40% chance of an inch from southeast Tennessee up into upstate South Carolina and parts of western North Carolina, with a higher probability of seeing accumulating snow into the northeast and mid-Atlantic and in parts of the Midwest. So that puts us kind of on the edge. But if you look at the GFS, it's pretty much a 0% chance through about the same time frame. So GFS has a little bit of a warmer solution through the middle of next week, where winter weather just wouldn't be a probability, where the European at least has a chance, or it's hitting at a chance, but again, pretty low in chance at that. So let's take a look at our storm tracker. This is the GFS. So Thursday, we'll have more rain coming back in the picture, and we'll kind of zoom out a little bit just so you can see what's going on. Saturday, I think Friday and Saturday generally going to be dry with the exception of a few showers. Another front comes in Sunday. That gives us more widespread rain. And it looks like Monday we'll have that front kind of just hanging out, which means more active weather. And notice by the time we get into late Monday and Tuesday, you start to see some pinks and blues on the northern end of this. So it will be cold enough somewhere, probably in the mid-Atlantic or just to our north, for some winter weather. But the GFS solution, again, through the middle of next week, rainy, just very active and rainy with the winter weather closer to places like Boston, New York, up in the northern part of the country, which would make more sense to me, unless that cold air got further to the south. The European, a little bit different. You can kind of zoom out, still staying pretty active through Thursday, maybe some showers lingering Friday. I think that's probably overdoing it. I think Friday's trending drier. And then by Saturday, well, late Saturday into early Sunday, here comes that front. More rain going to be possible, maybe a little bit of wintry mix as cold air crashes in along the plateau. Monday, more rain, but look what happens early Tuesday. See some of that blue showing up across the Tennessee Valley, trying to depict maybe enough cold air for a little bit of wintry mix or snow at the beginning, but look how quickly the rain takes off. So even if we do get some sort of winter weather next week, I don't think it's going to be significant. It looks like the chance for more of a significant winter storm is probably going to take place for the I-95 corridor, parts of the Ohio Valley, which would make sense. They haven't had a ton of snow, so I feel like they're kind of due up through the I-95 corridor from D.C. up through New York and Boston. So I think that's where you're going to have the winter storm potential kind of favored, opposed to the Tennessee Valley, where I just don't think we're going to have cold air. Could we see a few flakes at the middle of next week? Yeah, it's a possibility, but it's going to be very contingent on how far that cold air gets to the south. And we can kind of take a look over the next 2 weeks of the average snowfall using the European ensemble. Where you see those blues, that's up to an inch, but the heaviest stuff is in the pinks and purples and very bright blues and purples. So the northeast, that's kind of where the storm signal really is strong for winter weather, and for parts of the mid-Atlantic. I think we're going to be too warm. For what I'm thinking, at least, I think over the next several weeks, it's going to be more about the active weather. It's going to be very rainy even through the middle of the month. Winter weather, not completely off the table, but again, I wouldn't expect anything. I think we're just going to be a little too warm. But in the middle of next week, it's at least something worth watching for now. And then looking ahead to your next 7 days, we're going to have plenty of warmth through, again, Sunday, mid-70s on Saturday. And then looking ahead to next week, that's when we're going to start to cool down. So 50, a little below normal, but not a big shot of cold air. But we're going to monitor, or at least I'm going to monitor this pattern pretty closely, because again, it's going to be very contingent on where that cold air sets up, where the storm track is, and what kind of weather we could see through the middle of the month. I think it's going to be interesting, to say the least, but for at least the short term, going to be pretty active. Rain chances late Wednesday, again on Thursday, maybe lingering into Friday morning before we get kind of a dry spell through Saturday, and then late Saturday into Sunday through Monday. It looks like we're going to stay pretty active. So we'll be dodging some raindrops, much needed rain at that. But for now, enjoy the warmth and have a great Tuesday.